just a hack. He's just an absolute hack. And he gets his ass kicked by his teammates every week. It's just, it's terrible. It's just terrible.
Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bienemy is apparently going to interview with the Washington Commanders tomorrow on Thursday to fill their open offensive coordinator role. I'm not going to get into the equal opportunity for the head coaching positions for Eric Bienemy because I believe as a play caller, he's already earned that point, and it feels redundant to go over and have this conversation again as everyone is having this conversation already. Regardless, here is why Eric Bienemy should not accept the Washington Commanders offensive coordinator position. He's better than them. He's better than the Commanders. I've lived in D.C. my entire life. I've followed the Commanders. They're not my number one team, but it's hard to not follow the hometown team. I have not seen winning with this team. I have not seen a culture that can bring in wins within this team. And in a moment, I'll go through a couple comparisons between the Kansas City Chiefs, the situation there, and the situation here in Washington. This would not be a smart move for him because in the last 4 years, he has notched 2 Super Bowl rings with the Kansas City Chiefs. 2 Super Bowl rings in 4 years, 0 in the last 25 for the Washington Redskins, then football team, then Commanders. They are a dysfunctional organization. I'm not breaking any news here. Whether it be all the stuff with Snyder and the bountiful amount of allegations against him and misconduct, that is not indicative of a good owner. Kansas City Chiefs ownership, don't know anything about him. They have to be better than Snyder. He has been lauded as one of the worst 5 owners in all of professional sports. That is his reputation. Is that the boss that you want, who doesn't have a winning team, doesn't have a winning culture and infrastructure, and hasn't won a Super Bowl, even lucked into one in the last 25 years? Whether it be just the culture in Washington, the 2 botched ceremonies for the remembrance of Sean Taylor, having team legends sue the organization this past year for them trying to milk every single possible ticket that they could sell in the seat to come see guys that played when the organization was respectable. And it's just not an organization that you want to go to. And good for Eric Bienemy for trying to get his name out there and trying to get just at least a little bit of buzz. But this, if he accepts this job, this is like a pretty girl accepting the first invitation to prom, and the first, just because the guy was like, "Hey, I'll take a crack at it." You don't do that. You need to weigh your options, or else you're going to have a bad prom. Eric Bienemy will have a bad prom in Washington. It will be. And if it's a matter of waiting out for the head coaching position, it's more likely than not that the head coaching position under Ron Rivera will be open and vacant before it is with Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. That's true. But what team would you rather take over? Would you rather take over a Sam Howell-led team with a couple good offensive weapons, a decent running back duo between Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson, a couple good threats on the outside, Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel and Jahan Dotson? Okay. That's a decent offense to inherit. It's not the Kansas City Chiefs. You don't have probably the most popular athlete in all of sports right now in Patrick Mahomes, one of the most talented athletes in Patrick Mahomes leading the team. You don't have a team that drafts notoriously well like the Kansas City Chiefs, where they find defensive back after defensive back, interior defensive linemen that they don't need to take in the first round that still make impacts, edge rushers that people overlooked like George Karlaftis this past year, and they get him, and look at all the pressures that he had on the quarterbacks. I understand everyone's going to talk about Chase Young, Deron Payne. If he stays, John Allen and the front, okay. But you cannot compare these two. They're in 2 different leagues, and if you want to coach and try to change the culture, become the next dude to lead the Washington Commanders, that's up to you, Eric Bienemy. I think it would be a poor move. And you're better off waiting another year for some other job to open up at a more stable organization than the Washington Commanders. At least wait for the sale, if it happens.